If you are a knowledge worker or a business person using agents for knowledge work, you are a victim of a major contradiction and a very specific design choice that the labs have done at your detriment and at my detriment. I've been using agents for the last 6 months, and I'm as frustrated as I was at the beginning. It's an incredible learning curve. Now, the main contradiction is how agents deal with knowledge, with the knowledge base that is fundamental for you to get business outcomes, okay? Because it's one thing to have Hermes summarize your emails in the morning. It's another thing to have the agent work on 100 pitch decks that you have sitting around, or work through content that you have created 10, 15 years ago and keep it in mind. It's just not able to do that. And a lot of times when you're confronting the agent says, "Oh, I actually didn't read that. I just skimmed it. I was looking for this pattern and I didn't find it." This is not a mistake. This is a design decision. 20% of users of Codex as of June, this is OpenAI data, are using it for knowledge work. 80% are using it for code mostly. Now, agents are and agent harnesses are optimized for creating code. And the best strategy to walk around a huge code base is to skim. Partial file reads are the standard when you are looking at a huge code base, because you're looking for that function, you're looking for that routine, you're looking for that variable, and that works. And so when you give a lot of data to the agents, they don't read it, they skim it, they are superficial, and that makes them idiotic because they have no common sense, as we all know. Then they are not grounded in the information that we just provided them, and it just makes for a super frustrating experience. Now, there is a solution. Now, it's just the first principles point of view. If agents like dealing with code, why don't we provide data and knowledge as code? So this is the overall strategy that I would advise for in this situation. Why haven't the labs already done it? They know that this is a problem, okay? They know that 20% of users are encountering this exact problem. Why aren't they doing anything about it? Well, they don't have the incentive of satisfying just the 20% of users. This strategy works great for code. And let's not forget that Codex and code, they are not the product for us paying. They are the internal product for the labs to create better and train better language models. So actually, the purpose of having them optimized for what they're optimized is for an internal use of the labs, not for our use, especially as, let's say, power users or non-engineers or business people or knowledge workers. There is literally no incentive to do that. And so this is a major opportunity for any player that wants to take the space of data as code. Now, how would you approach transforming your knowledge, the business knowledge inside your company into code? Because once you have that, then you have the agent, theoretically, the agents will be able to deal with your data. And we are not talking about Hermes summarizing your emails in the morning, okay? We are talking about having the agents make inference and detect patterns throughout everything that matters in your organization. Right now, I am able to point the agent to, what are the documents that I wrote? What are the videos, transcripts where they can take information? And when I talk about business objectives, one of the things that I'm doing right now is with the power of Claude Code and Codex, you can do a lot in SEO and AEO or GEO, whatever you want to call it. But all of that is only possible. For instance, I'm about to write a lot of articles for some specific keywords. I can write them myself. I can write them together with a machine, or they could create a draft based on 20 years of writing that I have stored somewhere, okay? But they don't know where it is. They skim it, they grep it. Technically, they use this tool to just find the pattern in it, and they're not going to figure it out. And by the way, just an index or something like RAG is not gonna cut it. Actually, we'll have a look at RAG in a second in real time. So how do we turn data into code? Well, there is a company that used to have the mission of organizing the world's information. They since, did other things. And this company, already in pre-AI era, they had a way of understanding what you were searching about. And obviously, I'm talking about Google. And Google, since 2012, they are working, like they're telling us that the underpinnings of much of search are a knowledge graph. So I'm quite sure that the solution to the contradiction, like the agent is looking for code, how do we create code, is by creating a knowledge graph. In fact, we're seeing this progression from agentic engineer to context engineer and now to graph engineer. But the solution, has been under everybody's nose for quite a long time. And if we have a look at what is on Google Trends here, so you can see this is 2012 when they launch the knowledge graph, and they tell everybody, use schema.org to organize your information. Then there is a jump here in knowledge graph in August 2025. Then there is a jump in schema in November, and now they're both kind of spiking. And if I do RAG, retrieval augmented, generation. Oh, look at that. It's spiking even more than everything else. So basically, we are accepting RAG as the way to teach agents how to understand data. I think the reality here is knowledge graphs. What does it look like then? So I have, for instance, I have folders of information. In my case, I have text files, and they're in Obsidian. Okay. And so this is already like a specific case because they're in Obsidian, but maybe you have PowerPoint presentation, you have PDFs of decks, maybe you have Word files, etc. It's already messy because where is this knowledge where we have to extract a graph? In what kind of format is it? Where does it sit? Is it on a local drive? Is it on a database, etc.? Then I need some sort of knowledge graph tool. And then I will produce this beautiful graph of interconnected, and I will have concepts, ideas, places. Oh, hold on a second. Yes, the Google's knowledge graph works like this. It works by entity, and an entity could be a place, Berlin. It could be a person, Matteo Cassese. An entity could be a thing, a Rode microphone, and so on and so forth. But do we need that? No. Like what happened for Google is that they created the knowledge graph, and you cannot download the knowledge graph because it is based on what they decided to be the best ontology. So the best way of organizing information. In the case of Google, it so happens that there is an ontology for products. There is an ontology for business services. There is an ontology, and everything is organized by the agreed standard of schema.org. Should you adopt this? Yeah, no, maybe. We don't know. And I think this is the greatest market opportunity of them all, is that it's not just that I have my data could be anywhere. And it's not just that I need to create a knowledge graph, but I need to create a knowledge graph for what I got to do. So what I want, for instance, is a SEO knowledge graph right now that is about my transcripts. It is about my writing. It mines my group calls. Everywhere I might have dispensed knowledge, information, frameworks, ideas, and it needs to map those by situation, intention. It needs to map them by problem, solution. And it needs to answer a specific set of questions that are not the questions of your business. The questions that you need to get business outcomes out of your knowledge in your business are specific. So you are going to need task-specific knowledge graphs. And the companies that get into that space are going to be great winners. And since the labs are working on building this machine to build machines, building this huge, new, bigger, larger, smarter model that maybe one day we're also going to see, and I am personally still struggling with Opus 4.8 following instructions. I'm not using Opus 5, obviously, because it doesn't follow any human instruction at all. It's like just an independent uh, creature that does their own thing. But as we are struggling with this agent work, with this knowledge work, I think there's a lot of space for any company that wants to do that. I have a company in mind because they're my clients. I've been lucky enough to work on a knowledge graph very, very early on, thanks to a brilliant client, which is WordLift. And I'm still doing my SEO with WordLift as of today. And yeah, this is a plug, but it's also a great, great company. And I'm working right now with a company called Interf. And what they are doing right now is really just this work on knowledge specific, task specific knowledge graphs, which I believe is going to be the game changer of finally not being frustrated working with agents on knowledge work. So what I'm doing right now is really this transition from having all of this information, trying to tag it and organize it, because that's one ontology, but really transform my data, my knowledge into code, and then point the agent at a code base. And from there on, have it understand what I am on about, what are its objectives, because it's losing the plot, because it's looking for code, and it's not dealing with long textual or visual information at all. This is a space that I want to continue observing. These tools, some tools are already out there. Actually, my agents for this weekend, they are going to be just plainly looking at all the tools and trying to organize my data. But this is going to be hugely difficult due to the fact that agents need to look at the data, understand what the right ontology is, what the right way of organizing this information is. So task-specific knowledge graph, and then put this graph to work, actually encode it into data, and then make this folder something workable for the other agents They are not the ones that are organizing the data, but the ones that are doing the work. But I'm quite sure that we will spend quite a lot of time in the future just preparing the data, preparing the context before we get to even prompting. So less prompting, more preparing, data as code. Tell me what your solution is. I don't have one yet. I'm looking for it. And I think when this video is out, maybe we'll be able all to use Interf or any other tool that doesn't just create a knowledge graph, but it creates a knowledge graph with an ontology that makes sense for the use, for the business outcome, not the silly summarize these emails, but to respond to one of the bigger questions of AI, which is, when do they start making me money? Right now, they're costing me time and money. When does my agent start to have a P&L in the positive and start making money for my business? And I think for knowledge work, that is, I don't count my success in lines of code. I count my success in euros and dollars in the bank. And I think building the knowledge graph is the one thing that will change the business outcomes for me. And I'll report back here in the future. Thank you for watching. And a really interesting video will appear over here. And there's a lot more videos on the channel. Way too many videos. Alrighty. Thanks for watching.